One of the most interesting pieces of cult media in the current pop cultural movement is the 2011 drama Drive. Besides being an amazing film in itself, it was one of the first to have a fully synthwave score, most famously from the artists Kavinsky, Electric Youth, and Cliff Martinez. At this point, it's scientific. Synthwave makes everything better, which is no surprise it's been used in cyberpunk fighting games, ultra-violent Indonesian action films, and 80s sci-fi horror throwback TV shows. Enter 2012 and the two-person team of Denton Games, releasing their first title, Hotline Miami, a brutal top-down action game set in alternate late 80s Miami. Hugely successful both critically and commercially, albeit extremely pirated, Hotline Miami is one of the most significant indie games released, with its postmodern story, addictive gameplay, and synthwave soundtrack influencing countless other developers in their own creations. The Hotline Miami games are some of my absolute favourites, especially during my pubescent brain's angst, though now I reflect on the game's achievements as well as its faults that would inevitably haunt the sequel. A good way to describe the original Hotline Miami story compared to its sequel is that it serves the gameplay first and foremost. You control the silent, nameless character of Jacket, who wakes in his apartment to voice messages left on his phone, pressing him into committing acts of ultra-violence against various monsters. The rest of the narrative is delivered through newspaper clippings reporting on the carnage, and a series of rhetorical questions posed by masked figures within Jacket's dreams. Besides Drive, the director David Lynch has been cited as a major influence to the story of the series, and it very much shows with lucid dreams, hallucinations, and the blurred and distorted nature of the world, harking back to Twin Peaks and Eraserhead. The meta approach to how the game is revealed divides the players. Some thoroughly love it, whilst others are merely left confused and annoyed. Both responses are justified. It's not something you can comfortably analyze. The developers are actual insert characters that smugly mock you for asking questions. To be fair, a lot of plot points would have been answered if the planned DLC came out, instead of being combined in the sequel, allowing the original story to stand alone. But the gameplay is the real meat of Hotline Miami. After answering the message, you hop in your car and enter the stage with the sole goal of killing everyone and not dying. It occasionally deviates, such as a few arbitrary boss fights and a late game stealth section. Luckily, these parts are brief. Clearing everyone in the map has you move on to another floor before receiving the chapter complete line, allowing you to leave. Playing Hotline is like taking crack cocaine or ice for the first time. You rush in feeling unstoppable before properly getting your skull smashed in. It's high risk, high reward action at its finest. Almost everything dies in one hit, be it from guns or clubs. That includes you. Playing cautiously might prove to be safer, however, quickly racking up combos, moving one room to the next is not just encouraged, but worlds more rewarding and enjoyable. Moving around, phonetically watching the screen for new opponents, and acquiring the appropriate weapon for the challenge is what matters the most. Admittedly, you can just camp out and lure enemies into kill zones, but the more active you are, the higher the score, unlocking weapons and collectibles. Even if you do fail, which will happen a lot, a simple button press has you repeat the floor you're on, and having infinite respawns allows you to keep throwing yourself back at it. Weapons range from household items to swords and machetes, to firearms like assault rifles and shotguns, each of which are great, gruesome fun, even on the receiving end. Hotline Miami earns its extreme ratings with decapitations, dismemberments, and beheadings aplenty. The minimalistic soundscape, only including the music and attack sound effects, gives a very disturbed, detached feel from the mayhem. One of the more emblematic mechanics of Hotline Miami is the mask system. These are different disguises Jacket can wear at the start of each level that imbue some special property, like moving faster, starting with a weapon, able to take more damage, or see further. You unlock them by reaching a high score for a level, or finding them scattered around. Besides looking really cool, and lifted straight from Drive and Kick-Ass, they add a great level of replayability to each stage. The masks open up different strategies and opportunities for inquisitive players. The fast pace and short load times allows you to switch masks if one tactic isn't working. If there's a real fault with this, it'd be the masks could have been balanced better, as some are made redundant or others are incredibly powerful. There's also joke ones that only make the gameplay harder, although there are more significant problems with the hit detection being unreliable, and it's kinda bullshit the enemies can take more than one shot to put down, unlike yourself. The AI behaviour and placement is very mixed, going from dumb to off-screen snipers, which feels very cheap. While rare, there are some poor checkpoint placing that leads to endless death loops. Of course, all frustrations melt away as you listen to Hotline's collection of synthwave tracks from a diverse range of artists. A couple are repeated, but it's generally solid electronic trancey stuff. Considering what would come later, it's fairly reserved, yet still interesting in seeing currently big names like Perturbator and Scattle in their earlier career. I don't believe that Hotline Miami would be nearly as loved if it weren't for its music. There's little else to say about Hotline Miami besides play it. Not only is it still fun and addictive, it's cheap and runs on practically everything. As far as indie games go, or even action games, feel so direct and visceral. Its importance on gaming as a whole and the synthwave genre will be a testament for years to come. If you want to see how top-down gaming is done, or why all your favourite games now have synthwave artists, I implore you to check out this classic.